Imagine that you are the captain of a massive ship drifting in the middle of a boundless, perfectly calm ocean. The water around you is smooth as a mirror, and the horizon is clear. You have cut the engines. According to all laws of physics, according to all rules of navigation, you should be standing still. But you look at the instruments and see something that sends a cold shiver down your spine. Your ship is moving. And not just moving, but rushing at a monstrous speed. You are being pulled. You and thousands of other ships around you. This entire armada, this entire fleet that should be peacefully bobbing on the waves, has been seized by an invisible but irresistible current. You try to resist, you engage the engines at full power, but it is useless. The force that has grabbed you is so colossal that you don't even feel the acceleration. You are simply flying into the unknown. And the scariest part is, you don't see where. Ahead is only fog. But the instruments scream that there, beyond the horizon, lies something compared to which everything we knew about the world seems like a child's toy. Welcome to reality. This ship is our galaxy, the Milky Way. This ocean is our universe. And this current is what astrophysicists call dark flow. Right now, in the very second you hear this voice, we, along with the sun, the earth, and billions of other stars, are being dragged into the abyss at a speed of 600 kilometers per second. We are not flying by inertia after the Big Bang. No, someone is pulling us. Someone or something sitting in the darkness beyond the edge of the observable universe, slowly winding space around its monstrous fist. Today, we are embarking on an investigation that has scared scientists for over 40 years. We are used to thinking that the cosmos is chaos, where everything flies apart in different directions. But dark flow proves that the universe has a structure. It has a direction. And, perhaps, it has an end. Today we will learn 3 things that will overturn your understanding of our place in the world. First, we will find out what the Great Attractor is, a gravitational monster we have been flying toward for billions of years, and why it is likely just small bait on the path to the real beast. Second, we will analyze data suggesting that our universe is being sucked into another universe, which could be the first physical proof of the existence of the multiverse. And third, we will try to look beyond the event horizon and understand what will happen when we finally arrive at our destination. Does new life await us there, or instant death in the embrace of something that has no name in any language of the world? Buckle up. We are entering a gravitational anomaly zone. But before we throw ourselves into this abyss, we need to understand the rules of the game. To realize the full horror of dark flow, we first need to understand how space is supposed to behave. Imagine a balloon. You draw dots on it with a marker. These are galaxies. Now you start inflating the balloon. What happens? Every dot moves away from every other dot. There is no center. There is no edge. If you are sitting on one dot, it seems to you that all the others are running away from you. This is exactly how our universe works. It is called Hubble's law. Space expands and galaxies fly apart. This is normal. This is a boring, predictable law that reigns everywhere. In such a world, there should be no currents. Imagine that on this inflating balloon, a whole group of dots, instead of flying apart, suddenly gathered into a flock and crawled in one direction, ignoring the stretching of the rubber. That would be impossible, right? It would violate the very logic of inflating the balloon. But that is exactly what we saw in the 70s of the last century. Astronomers had just begun to create detailed maps of the cosmic microwave background radiation. This is the ancient light, the echo of the Big Bang, which fills the entire sky. It should be uniform, equally warm in all directions. But when scientists looked at the data, they saw a strange skew. On one side of the sky, the microwave background seemed slightly warmer, and on the exact opposite side, slightly colder. In physics, this is called dipole anisotropy. It sounds complicated, but the meaning is simple. It is the Doppler effect. You all know what an ambulance siren sounds like. When it comes toward you, the pitch is high. When it goes away, it is low. It is the same with light. If you fly toward the light, it becomes slightly bluer and hotter. If you fly away, redder and colder. So, this temperature difference showed us a terrible truth. We are not just sitting still in an expanding universe. We are rushing through it. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, is flying relative to this ancient background at an insane speed. At first, everyone thought, well, okay, it happens. Maybe we are just rotating around the center of the local group of galaxies. We looked at Andromeda, our neighbor. She is flying toward us. We are flying toward her. Together we are dancing a gravitational waltz. But when astronomers subtracted the speed of this dance, the remaining speed was still huge. Okay, they thought. Maybe the Virgo cluster is pulling us? This is the nearest metropolis of galaxies that we are part of. Virgo's gravity is huge. It keeps us on a leash. Scientists calculated the mass of Virgo, subtracted its influence, and again, nothing added up. Even after accounting for all the local forces known to us, there remained some unaccounted for, gigantic speed, 600 kilometers per second. To give you a sense of scale, a bullet flies at a speed of 1 kilometer per second. The Earth flies around the Sun at a speed of 30 kilometers per second. And here, 600. And this is not just a random drift. This is a vector, an arrow pointing to a specific spot in the sky, somewhere between the constellations of Centaurus, Hydra, and Vela. It was like detectives finding a body and seeing that it had been dragged along the ground. They see the tracks, they see the direction, but the one who dragged it is no longer there. Or he is hiding. It was then, in the late 70s and early 80s, that the hypothesis of the Great Attractor was born. The name itself sounds like the name of a comic book villain. Attractor, the puller, the great devourer. Scientists assumed that there, in the direction of the constellation Hydra, lies a colossal accumulation of matter. So heavy that, like a giant vacuum cleaner, it sucks in everything around it. Us, Andromeda, the Virgo cluster, and thousands of other galaxies. But here a problem arose that made astronomers want to tear their hair out. We couldn't look there. By a cruel irony of fate, exactly in the direction where we are being pulled lies the plane of our own galaxy, the Milky Way. The dust, gas, and billions of stars of our own home block our view. This is called the zone of avoidance. Imagine trying to see what is happening on the street, but your own dirty window is boarded up. We knew something was there. We felt it dragging us by the scruff of the neck, but we were blind. For decades, the Great Attractor remained the main mystery of astronomy. It was our Moby Dick, the white whale we chased blindly. We built radio telescopes that could see through the dust. We launched X-ray satellites. Like moles, we gnawed our way through the zone of avoidance. And gradually, step by step, the fog began to clear. In the 90s, we were finally able to peek behind the curtain. And what we saw there became not an answer, but the beginning of an even deeper nightmare. So, we broke through the dust of the Milky Way. We pointed our best instruments there, and we actually found it, the Great Attractor. It turned out to be a giant supercluster of galaxies. It is called the Norma Cluster. It is a monstrous structure. Thousands of galaxies compressed into a lump humming with radiation, colliding with each other. The mass of this object is tens of quadrillions of solar masses. This is the gravitational center of our local patch of the universe. It would seem the case is closed. We found the culprit. We found the one pulling us toward itself. We can go home and write textbooks. But physics is a cruel mistress. When astronomers started recalculating the numbers, the smiles slid off their faces. Yes, the Great Attractor is huge. Yes, it is heavy. But it is not heavy enough. Its mass was enough to explain part of our speed. Well, say 40%. But the remaining 60% of the speed came from nowhere. It is as if you found a magnet that attracts an iron ball, but after measuring the strength of the magnet, you realize that the ball flies toward it twice as fast as it should. It means that behind this magnet, there is another magnet, even bigger, even more powerful. We realize that the Great Attractor is not the finale. It is not the level boss. It is just an intermediate station. We are not flying to it. We are flying through it. We are falling onto it, but we will fly past because the real target is further away, much further. And here begins the real detective story. Scientists started looking deeper, behind the attractor's back, and they found the Shapley Supercluster. If the attractor is a mountain, then the Shapley Supercluster is an entire mountain range. This is the most massive structure we can observe in our part of the universe. It is located 650 million light-years away from us. It contains more than 8,000 galaxies. It is so huge that its gravity reaches us through 500 million years of void. Astronomers exhaled. Well, now that's definitely it. Shapley is the titan holding up the firmament of our movements. We added the vector of pull to the attractor and the vector of pull to Shapley, calculated it, and missed again. Yes, Shapley explained another part of the speed, but there still remained an unexplained remainder. We were still moving too fast. We were still flying where we shouldn't be flying, with a speed that all the matter visible to us could not provide. In 2008, a group of researchers led by Alexander Kashlinsky made a statement that split the scientific world into two camps. They studied the kinematic Sunyaev-Zeldovich effect. Don't be scared of the name. The essence is that when light from the Big Bang passes through clusters of hot gas in galaxies, this gas leaves its imprint on the light. And from this imprint, one can understand how fast the cluster is moving. Kashlinsky and his team measured the speed of not one galaxy, and not two. They measured the movement of hundreds of huge clusters, and they saw what they called dark flow. This is not just the movement of the Milky Way. This is the movement of a huge chunk of the universe. Imagine a river 3 billion light-years in size. In this river float not boats, but entire archipelagos of galaxies. And they all drift together, as if on command, in one direction. And the scariest thing about Kashlinsky's discovery was not that the flow exists, but where it flows. The vector of this movement pointed beyond the limits of what we can even see. Look, our universe has a horizon. It is a sphere with a radius of about 46 billion light-years. Everything inside we see because light has had time to reach us during the life of the universe. Everything outside does not exist for us. Light from there is still on its way, and perhaps will never reach us because space is expanding faster than light. This is called the cosmological horizon. So, dark flow tells us that the cause of our movement lies there, beyond the horizon, off the map. Imagine you are in a dark room. You see only what your small flashlight illuminates. But suddenly, you feel someone grab your arm and pull you into the darkness beyond the beam of light. You don't see who it is. You don't know how big they are. You only feel the strength of their grip. This structure X that is pulling us must be something unimaginable. According to calculations, to create such a pull at such a distance, this object must be not just big, it must be infinitely huge. It is not a cluster of galaxies, and not even a supercluster. It is something that violates the principle of the uniformity of the universe. We are used to assuming that the universe is roughly the same everywhere, like butter spread on bread. If you take a big piece here and a big piece there, they will weigh the same. But dark flow hints that the universe is lopsided, that somewhere out there, beyond the horizon, the butter has been piled up in a mountain. Or there lies a stone. Or there is the edge of the table altogether. This breaks the entire logic of modern physics. The standard cosmological model does not provide for the existence of such monsters. If there is something beyond the horizon capable of pulling a chunk of the universe 3 billion light-years in diameter toward itself, it means the Big Bang did not happen as we thought. It means that in the first fractions of a second, after the birth of the world, something went wrong. And here we approach the point where science begins to sound like mysticism. What if this object is not part of our universe? Remember how gravity works. It warps space. Gravity is the only force that can leak through dimensions. There is a theory seriously discussed by theoretical physicists, brane theory. It says that our universe is just a three-dimensional membrane, a brane, floating in multidimensional space, like a sheet of paper flying in the wind. And next to our sheet, another sheet might be flying, another universe. If these two branes fly close enough to each other, they don't necessarily have to collide. They just need to be nearby. The gravity of matter from that other universe can leak through the gap between worlds and start pulling matter in our universe. Think about it. Dark flow could be a shadow cast upon us by a neighboring world. We feel the ghostly touch of another reality. We are not being pulled by structure X. We are being pulled by another universe. And if this is so, then dark flow is the first proof in history that we are not alone. That the multiverse is real. That our world is not an isolated bubble, but part of a huge, cramped communal apartment where neighbors can knock on the wall. But there is a more frightening version. A version that turns our journey into a horror movie. What if we are not being pulled by mass? What if we are being pulled by emptiness? In physics, there is the concept of a dipole repeller. It sounds complicated, but imagine it like this. If you have a mountain on one side and a pit on the other, a stone will roll from the mountain into the pit, not only because the pit is deep, but also because the mountain is high. Gravity is a game of contrasts. Recently, astronomers discovered that directly opposite to the direction of dark flow, behind our backs, lies a giant region of emptiness, a void. There are almost no galaxies there. There is almost no matter there. It is a dead zone, and it turns out that we are not just falling onto something heavy. We are also being pushed out by something empty. We are caught between a hammer and an anvil. The void behind presses on us with its expansion, and the unknown monster in front pulls us toward itself. We are flying down a cosmic slide, and the angle of inclination is becoming steeper and steeper. The speed is increasing. With every million years, we accelerate. We and thousands of other galaxies. We fly in a flock. We are like migratory birds obeying an instinct they do not understand themselves. But birds know where they are flying. They are flying south, to the warmth. But where are we flying? If dark flow is real, and arguments about this are still ongoing, and we will talk about this, then it means the universe has a drain, a place where matter flows. Imagine a bathtub. The water in it might seem calm, but if you pull the plug, a vortex forms. and everything floating on the surface will sooner or later end up in this vortex. What if dark flow is movement towards such a vortex? Maybe there, beyond the horizon, space ends. Maybe there lies a giant wormhole, or a tear in the fabric of creation, or maybe there lies what is called the Big Crunch, a place where time flows backward. We are now at the equator of our story. We have analyzed what the Great Attractor and Shapley Supercluster are. We realized that they are merely small pebbles on the path of the flow. We touched upon the multiverse theory, but this is only the tip of the iceberg, because there is data suggesting that the scale of dark flow is much larger than 3 billion light-years. There is a suspicion that the entire observable universe is moving. What if it's not just a river flowing in the ocean? What if the ocean itself has tilted? What if we live in a world that is falling? In the next part, we will talk about what lies at the very edge of these theories. We will discuss the criticism of dark flow. After all, not all scientists agree with its existence, and their arguments are also very weighty. We will talk about how the Planck telescope tried to refute this discovery and why it didn't quite succeed. And most importantly, we will try to imagine what we will see if we do arrive. What awaits us at the end of the journey? A wall? A passage? Or nothing? Get ready. Further on, it will only get darker. The depth of the rabbit hole is just beginning to reveal itself. So, we have found ourselves in a situation that is difficult to even imagine. We are passengers on a train whose brakes have failed. Behind us, we are being pushed by an expanding void, which astronomers call the Dipole Repeller. This is a giant region, practically devoid of matter, working like an anti-gravity engine. It presses on us by the very fact of its existence, because empty space expands faster than space filled with stars. And in front, something we cannot see is pulling us. That very dark flow. We are clamped in a gravitational vice. And this picture would be simply terrifying if not for one thing. In science, things are never smooth. As soon as Alexander Kashlinsky published his data on dark flow, the scientific world exploded. It was too loud a statement. To say that the entire universe flows in one direction is the same as saying the Earth is flat in a society of geographers. It breaks all the rules. Therefore, heavy artillery entered the stage. The European Space Agency launched the Planck Space Observatory. It was the most perfect instrument humanity had ever created to study the cosmic microwave background. Its task was simple: to map the echo of the Big Bang with such precision that no one would have any questions left. In 2013, the Planck team published their results, and they stated, "There is no dark flow." They said that Kashlinsky's data was a processing error, noise, an illusion. They claimed that the universe is the same in all directions, and no global drift exists. It would seem that's it. The story can be ended. Scientists made a mistake. Let's go home. But Kashlinsky did not give up. He took the data from the same Planck satellite and processed it using his own method. And he saw the flow again. He said, "You are looking in the wrong place. You are averaging data where you need to look at the details. You filter the signal as noise, but this noise is the signal." This dispute continues to this day. It is a real war of data. On one side, the standard model, which says the universe is calm. On the other side, stubborn observational facts showing that we are flying somewhere. And do you know what the most interesting part is? Independent groups of scientists began to find confirmation of Kashlinsky's correctness. They used not the microwave background, but supernovae explosions as beacons. And these beacons also showed strange movement. It seems there is no smoke without fire. And if this fire is real, then we need to have a serious talk about what kind of monster is capable of fooling even humanity's best telescopes. Let's imagine for a second that dark flow is real. What does this mean for physics? It means that our universe is not an isolated bubble. Imagine you live in a drop of water. While the drop hangs in the air, everything inside it is calm. But if the drop falls into the ocean, currents begin inside it. It starts to twist and deform. Dark flow is proof that our drop universe does not hang in a void. It interacts with something. Astrophysicist Laura Mersini-Houghton proposed a theory that sent a chill down the spines of many of her colleagues. She suggested that dark flow is the result of the gravitational influence of another universe located right next to ours. In string theory and M theory, our universe is represented as a three-dimensional surface, a brain, floating in multidimensional space. Imagine it is a sheet in the wind. Nearby hangs another sheet. They do not touch, but they can bend and fly very close to each other. Gravity is the only force that can jump from one sheet to another. And so, imagine that billions of years ago, when our universe was still very young and hot, it flew too close to a neighboring universe. Something happened that can be called a cosmic kiss. The neighbor's gravity yanked our matter. It gave it momentum. It forced all the substance in our world to flow in one direction. We are the result of this ancient catastrophe. We are flying to where this contact occurred, and perhaps that other universe is still there. It is still pulling us. We feel its presence like phantom pain. We cannot see it because light cannot leave our brain, but we feel its weight. If this is true, then dark flow is a window into the multiverse. It is the only material proof that we are not alone. That existence is not a lonely room, but a huge dormitory where neighbors live behind the wall. And judging by the force with which we are being pulled, these neighbors are very big. But let's come down from the heavens of theoretical physics to Earth, or rather, to our local cosmos. What happens if we keep flying? We are talking about speeds of 600, 800, and according to some data, even 1,000 kilometers per second. This is fast, but by cosmic standards, it is still like crawling on your belly. To the edge of the observable universe, we have billions of years of flight. We will never catch up with the horizon because it runs away from us at the speed of light. But there is one nuance. Space does not stand still. We are not just being pulled. We are being sucked in along with space itself. Imagine a river flowing toward a waterfall. The closer to the cliff, the faster the current. A boat may sail slowly, but the water carries it quickly. Dark flow could be a sign that space-time itself has a tilt. Yes, it sounds strange, but imagine that the universe is not flat. Imagine that it is tilted, like a table with sawed-off legs, and all matter simply rolls down into the lower corner of this table. What is in this lower corner? Physicists call it a singularity, a point where the laws of nature stop working. It could be a giant black hole, but not the kind we are used to seeing in movies. This is a black hole the size of billions of galaxies. If we could fly closer to it, we would see a sight that would drive any artist crazy. Imagine an event horizon that takes up half the sky. It is not black. It is blindingly bright because entire clusters of galaxies are falling into it. Gas heats up to trillions of degrees, emitting X-rays that burn through everything in their path. Around this monster rotates an accretion disk consisting of broken stars and planets. And we are just a speck of dust in this flow, slowly but surely drifting toward the edge of this funnel. Of course, this will take trillions of years. The sun will go out much earlier. The earth will freeze or be swallowed by the dying sun long before we reach the target of dark flow. But the very fact that the universe has a drain changes our attitude toward the future. We are used to thinking that the universe will end in heat death, that stars will go out, galaxies will fly apart, and eternal cold darkness will set in. This is a sad but calm finale. The dark flow theory offers a different finale, a finale in fire and pressure, a finale in the meat grinder of a giant attractor, the Big Crunch. If all matter flows to one point, it means sooner or later it will meet there. And when this happens, the density of matter will become infinite. Perhaps this will lead to a new Big Bang? Perhaps dark flow is an umbilical cord through which our universe feeds the embryo of a new universe? Or conversely, are we the waste being flushed into the cosmic sewer after the party of creation? Agree, it is unpleasant to feel like garbage being flushed down the toilet of eternity. But the universe is not obliged to care about our feelings. Now, let's talk about speed. Why 600 kilometers per second? Why not 100 and not 1,000,000? This figure could also be a key to the solution. The fact is that this speed is suspiciously close to the speed at which galaxies rotate around the centers of clusters. This hints that we might be part of some colossal rotating structure. What if dark flow is not movement in a straight line? What if it is movement in a circle? Imagine that our entire visible universe is just a small vortex in an ocean of a much larger size. We think we are flying toward some goal, but in reality, we are simply circling in an orbital dance around a center of mass located far beyond the horizon. This returns us to the idea of the fractality of the universe. An atom looks like a solar system like a galaxy like a cluster. Maybe our entire universe is just an atom in the body of a giant? And dark flow is just the movement of blood through the vein of this being? This sounds like philosophy, but mathematics does not exclude such an option. If the universe is infinite, then a hierarchy of structures of any size can exist in it. And we simply do not see the next level yet. We are like ants crawling on a tree leaf, thinking the leaf is the whole world. And then the wind blows, the leaf starts to tremble, and the ants call it dark flow. They don't know about the tree. They don't know about the forest. They only know that their world is being carried somewhere. But let's return to the facts. There is one more mystery connected to this flow. It concerns the composition of matter. Scientists noticed that in the direction we are flying, the composition of cosmic rays is slightly different. There are more ultra-high energy particles there. Where do they come from? These are cosmic bullets piercing space at a speed close to the speed of light. Usually, they are born from supernovae explosions or active galactic nuclei, but their concentration in the flow zone is anomalous. This suggests that there, at the end of the path, something very active is happening. Something that works like a giant particle accelerator. Maybe the object we are flying toward not only attracts matter, but also processes it. Imagine a cosmic engine. It sucks in fuel, galaxies, and ejects energy, cosmic rays. It sounds like the ravings of a mad sci-fi writer. But we have already seen jets in the universe, streams of plasma erupting from black holes. They can be millions of light years long. What if dark flow leads us to the mouth of such a jet, only on the scale of the entire universe? Then we face not just compression, but atomization and ejection into interuniversal space in the form of pure energy. We are approaching the most dangerous line of our investigation, the equator, beyond which begin things capable of breaking the brain. If we admit the existence of dark flow, we have to admit that the Copernican principle is wrong. The Copernican principle says that we are not at the center of the world, and our position is unremarkable. But if we are flying in a flow, It means we have a special position. We are in the riverbed. And who is on the shore? Are there places in the universe where there is no dark flow? Where space is calm? Most likely, yes. And this is even scarier. It means the universe is not uniform, that it has dangerous zones and safe harbors. And we were unlucky. We were born in a dangerous zone, in the current zone. Imagine if a civilization arose in that part of the universe where there is no dark flow. Their astronomy would be different. They would see calm, uniform expansion. They would build perfect models of the Big Bang, and everything would add up for them. But we see an anomaly. Our experience tells us that rules do not work everywhere. It is like living on the slope of a volcano and trying to derive geological laws for a plane. We simply have distorted data. Perhaps dark flow is a local phenomenon. Yes, local with a size of 3 billion light years, but still local. Maybe it is just a temporary disturbance, ripples on the water, and in a couple of billion years, it will subside. Unfortunately, the data says otherwise. The flow is not slowing down. It is stable, or even accelerating. This means the cause causing it has not disappeared anywhere. It is still there, waiting for us. And here we must ask ourselves a question. What if we are wrong in our interpretation? What if this is not movement in space? What if it is the movement of space itself? Look, we are used to thinking of space as a stage on which actor galaxies stand. But general relativity tells us that the stage can also move. It can twist, stretch, and flow. If dark flow is the flow of the ether of space-time itself, then we are not even moving. We are standing still relative to the fabric of the world. But the fabric itself is sliding somewhere. It is like standing on an escalator. You are not walking, but you are moving. Where does this escalator lead? To the basement of reality? Or to the next floor? There is a hypothesis that our universe has the shape not of a ball, but of a bagel, a torus. And dark flow is movement along the surface of this bagel. If this is so, then, having flown long enough, we can return to the point from where we flew out, only from the other side. This would solve the edge problem. There is no edge. There is a closed loop. But then the question arises, why is the flow directed only one way? On a bagel, you can ride in any direction, and we are all riding toward Centaurus. Does that mean this bagel has one-way traffic? There are more questions than answers, and every new answer gives birth to 10 new mysteries. We are approaching the finale of the second part of our dive. We realize that dark flow is not an error and not an accident. It is a system failure in our picture of the world. It is the elephant in the room that we tried not to notice for 40 years. But now that we have looked it in the eye, we cannot unsee it. In the final part, we will go all in. We will try to combine dark flow, the Great Wall, and the supervoid into one theory. A theory that will explain why our world is so crooked. We will talk about how these structures are connected to each other and why they form the axis of evil. Yes, there is a term, axis of evil, in cosmology, and it passes right through our solar system. Coincidence? I don't think so. We will also touch upon the most insane but mathematically beautiful idea. What if dark flow is the process of the birth of our universe, which has not yet ended? What if the Big Bang is not a point in the past, but a process that is happening right now, and we are simply flying on the blast wave? This changes everything. It means we live not in cooling ash, but in the very center of the fire. Get ready. Ahead is the most interesting part. We will try to peek behind the curtain and see the puppeteer pulling the strings of gravity. Don't switch the channel. We have reached the deepest and darkest part of our journey. Until now, We've talked about dark flow as a physical phenomenon, as a river of galaxies. But there is something scientists try not to discuss in public to avoid being labeled crazy. The thing is, dark flow isn't the only oddity. If you overlay the map of dark flow onto the map of the cosmic microwave background radiation and add the location of that Great Wall we talked about earlier, a pattern emerges. A frightening, geometrically precise pattern. In cosmology, there is a term that sounds like the title of a horror movie: the axis of evil. This isn't mysticism, it's a scientific term. Astronomers noticed that all the largest anomalies in the universe, including dark flow, are aligned along a single invisible line. And do you know what this line passes through? It passes through our solar system. Moreover, it suspiciously coincides with the plane of the ecliptic, the plane in which Earth orbits the Sun. This is impossible. It cannot be. According to the Copernican principle, Earth is an ordinary planet around an ordinary star. We are not the center of the universe. We are dust. The universe shouldn't be oriented around us. But the axis of evil says otherwise. Either we are fantastically, incredibly lucky to be in the geometric center of a giant cosmic mechanism, or what we see is an illusion, an artifact. Imagine looking at a computer screen from a sharp angle. The image distorts, colors shift, lines bend. Maybe the axis of evil and dark flow are distortions caused by the shape of our world? Here, the holographic universe theory enters the stage. Physicist Leonard Susskind suggested that our three-dimensional reality is merely a projection of information recorded on a two-dimensional surface, like a hologram. If this is true, then dark flow could be a bug in the projector. Imagine a scratch on a film reel. When you shine light through it, a huge dark stripe appears on the screen, stretching across the entire movie. The movie characters think it's part of their world. They invent theories, call it dark flow. But in reality, it's just a defect in the storage medium. If dark flow is such a scratch, it explains why it doesn't end. The scratch runs through the entire reel. The flow runs through the entire universe. But let's get back to physics. We have one more player we mentioned in passing, but who deserves a leading role in the finale? The Dipole Repeller. We said there is a void behind us, but you must understand the scale of this void. It's not just a hole in Swiss cheese. It's a region where the very fabric of space is smoothing out. There is no gravity to hold back expansion. Therefore, this void acts like a giant piston. It pushes us in the back. And so, we get a perfect picture of a cosmic engine. In front, the Shapley Attractor and an unknown monster beyond the horizon, pulling. Behind, the Dipole Repeller, pushing. We are inside a giant conveyor belt. Our entire local universe is a flow of matter being pumped from point A to point B. Why? What is the meaning of this? Nothing in nature happens for no reason. Rivers flow into the sea to complete the water cycle. Blood flows through veins to nourish cells. If galaxies flow, it means they are participating in some global metabolism. There is a bold hypothesis that our universe is not uniform in time, that the Big Bang didn't happen everywhere at once. Imagine the universe burning like a fuse. The fire runs along the cord. We are in the part that is already burning but hasn't burned out yet. Dark flow is the direction the fire is spreading. We are flying into the future, running away from the past. What pushes us from behind is already cooled ash, emptiness. What pulls us from the front is unignited fuel, a concentration of mass. This theory explains almost everything. It explains why the universe seems so different in different directions. We are simply looking along the arrow of time. In one direction, we see the beginning. in the other, the end. But what awaits us when we reach the attractor? If it really is a drain, then there must be a concentration of matter exceeding all imaginable limits. Some calculations show that the density of galaxies there must be so high that they start rubbing edges against each other. The sky there should be white with starlight. The temperature of intergalactic gas, billions of degrees. It is hell, and we are flying straight into this hell at a speed of 600 kilometers per second. Fortunately, the universe is expanding, and this expansion plays into our hands. Dark energy pushes space apart faster than dark flow carries us to the target. It's a race. Who will win? The gravity of the monster pulling us, or the anti-gravity of the void tearing everything apart? According to the latest data, dark energy is winning. Most likely, we will never reach the source of dark flow. The space between us and it will stretch so much that we will lose sight of it. We will be left alone. Dark flow will stop not because we arrived, but because the river dried up. This is called the Big Rip, a scenario in which the universe will be torn apart into atoms. But until that happens, the flow exists, and it remains the main mystery of modern times. Think about this. We built our entire science on the idea that we understand the rules. We measured gravity, we weighed electrons. But dark flow is a reminder that we are sitting in a sandbox. We don't know what is happening over the fence. We see sand pouring in one direction and build theories. But maybe, over the fence, someone just turned on a fan. Maybe the object pulling us isn't an object at all, but a curvature of space-time itself caused by the rotation of the universe. Gödel, Einstein's friend, solved the equations of general relativity and got a rotating universe. In such a universe, you can travel into the past. In such a universe, there are preferred directions, and dark flow might simply be an inertial force in this giant spinning top. If the universe rotates, it has an axis, and we return to the axis of evil. All these coincidences add up to a picture that is too complex to be random. We are either in a matrix, or in a rotating black hole, or in a multiverse. None of these options promise us a quiet life. But you know what is most amazing? We, small protein-based creatures on a wet rock flying around a yellow dwarf star, were able to notice this. We felt this drift. We are not just puppets carried by the current. We are puppets who realize the current. And that makes us something more than just matter. We are the eyes of the universe, and through us, it looks at itself, trying to understand where it flows. Dark flow will remain a mystery for a long time. Perhaps we will never know what exactly is there, beyond the horizon, pulling us by an invisible string. But the very existence of this mystery forces us to move forward, to build new telescopes, to launch new satellites. We want to know. This is our basic instinct. And while we fly into this unknown at a speed of 600 kilometers per second, we have time to think. Maybe the goal isn't to arrive, but to understand the journey. We started this video with the question, what is pulling us? The answer turned out to be more complex than just a big black hole. The structure of creation is pulling us. The past and the future are pulling us. Another universe is pulling us. It is scary, but it is also inspiring. We are part of something grandiose. We are not forgotten in the void. We are part of the flow. And if you think the weirdness ends here, you are mistaken. Remember I talked about the void pushing us in the back? The Dipole Repeller? Well, this void has a name. And there is a specific place on the map where the cold reaches absolute values. This place is called the Eridanus supervoid, or the cold spot. Some scientists believe this isn't just emptiness, that it is an imprint, a bruise left after our universe collided with another. If dark flow is movement towards a neighbor, then the cold spot is the place where the neighbor hit us. But about this icy hell, about the place where hope and light die, I talked in a separate video. It will appear on your screen right now. If dark flow scared you, the Eridanus supervoid will make you feel true cosmic cold. There we analyze whether this hole could be a portal, and what a traveler will see if they dare to enter it. Click on the video. Find out what lies at the other end of this gravitational seesaw. The cosmos is full of secrets, and we will solve them all, one by one. See you there, in the void.